Great to be with y'all, and greetings from God's country.
The report that Lindsay just referenced says that Abilene, Texas, has now emerged as the hub that ships illegal immigrants across America. Have you gained any information about where these migrants are being transported to?
Well, we know that they're coming from all over the country, not just along the border. They're being sent to detention facilities. We have one just up the road, but this is the disconcerting part. They're releasing hundreds of illegal immigrants a month into the big country, is what we call the Abilene, greater Abilene area. And some of these folks have COVID. They know they're testing COVID positive. Some of them are criminals. They say they're not violent criminals, but the fact is they can't do the criminal history check from their country of origin. And here's another fact. They don't even know where these folks are coming from. So if you're asthmatic, if you're a smoker, if you say you're afraid for your life, if you have a certain percentage of body fat, you're released into our country. Free to go anywhere you want. Nobody's going to follow up. Nobody's going to monitor. And to say that it undermines the safety and security of my people in West Texas and the American people more broadly is the biggest understatement of the year.
You know, many people have been calling on President Biden to go down there. He has yet to go to our border. I think at this point in the administration, Trump had already gone several times. Republicans were united in their message that Vice President Kamala Harris should go to the border. And actually, she listened because there was so much pressure from Republicans. Do you think that same type of pressure should be put on Biden?
Absolutely. But listen, this president, I don't believe, is going to change his posture. We need to continue to hold him accountable. We need to continue to push back. We need to continue to reveal the disaster and the chaos that is ensuing directly as a result of his policies. But this president is placating the left every day on just about every policy, and I don't see his open borders czar Kamala Harris changing either. Look, these folks were very clear during their presidential race. They were for decriminalizing illegal crossing, giving these folks free health care. They've abandoned their first job of securing our sovereign border and protecting our citizens. And this president, and this is a constitutional crisis among the many others, is not faithfully executing the laws of the land. The only hope, the only way out of this is for states to exercise their sovereign power to shut the border down, prosecute the bad guys, deport people, actually enforce Title 42 in its full extent to protect us from another resurgence of COVID. That's the only way that happens is if Texas leaders of border states actually step up and not act as helpless victims, but do the job that the federal government won't do and this administration won't do.
Yeah, we've talked about this before. I'm convinced that this is a political play. These folks want these people in the country as potential or, of future Democratic voters. They're doing this for a reason. They could turn this off at any time. But I do want to switch gears to the economy because we've been talking a lot about inflation, the cost of goods and services going up. There's a graph that I saw today, I'm putting it on the screen now, that shows how much inflation has skyrocketed and wages have dropped just under the Biden administration, especially when you look at it compared to Trump. One of the things that we've seen is the rise of gas prices. So in turn, you now have the White House calling on OPEC to increase oil production. Here's the crazy part about this. There is a huge irony because this same administration on day one stopped the Keystone Pipeline. So they're at one hand stifling our own production and on the other hand asking other countries to increase oil production.
The irony, Sean, and the schizophrenia in policy to try to decimate an industry that has been such a blessing and a big driver of our economic prosperity. And for the first time since the 70s, we have energy independence. We are a net exporter of oil and gas. Not only that, but we're reducing carbon emissions. We're reducing greenhouse gas emissions because of the ocean of natural gas and because of LNG and our ability to export that to our allies around the world. Meanwhile, as the Green New disaster descends upon our country, which will be a train wreck in so many ways, the president's crying out to OPEC to increase production. Why? Because he can't deal with the political fallout from his policy decisions where the entire nation is being taxed at the pump. So it's he's having to own this. Unlike the border crisis that he won't own, this is going to stick along with many other things. But the problem is, the worst part about it is, beyond politics, it's hurting working families.
Right.
And so
absolutely,
we knew this would happen.
And to that point, Congressman, your governor, Greg Abbott, he actually said to President Biden this: our producers can easily produce that oil if your administration will let us, and get out of the way. But the Biden administration, they haven't responded yet. Why wouldn't they take him up on this?
Well, it's a religious zeal. It's not rational. It's not science, as they claim. This is the Church of Climatology, as I call it, the climate alarmists. They're driving this, and government is God, and this is there'll be an end of the world apocalypse now, at least apocalypse in 10 years. Listen, this would be disastrous at so many levels. It was the XL pipeline cancellation. It was the moratorium on drilling on public lands. The Paris climate alone will cost us millions of jobs. So it's no wonder we're seeing this inflation along with the spending spree from this administration. So I don't see them changing, because that would mean they would have to follow the science, they would have to lead, and they'd have to depart from just pandering and placating the left. I don't see any of that changing, unfortunately.
I agree with you 100%. I do love the Church of Climatology. It's although the irony is, by the way, that under that church, apparently you can increase greenhouse gases if it's in pursuit of blocking a local Keystone pipeline that would have actually benefited. So it's weird, that religion, crazy. But I appreciate you joining us, Congressman, and letting us in on this insight.
You bet, guys. Great to be with y'all.
All right. Up next, the